Tracy Dixon, transmitting to you from the All Fiction Podcast Studios. Thanks for tuning in to the Steeger Classic Pulp Podcast, presented by Steeger Books, the purveyors of quality facsimiles and reprints of classic pulp magazines and story anthologies. Need more pulp? Visit SteegerBooks.com. You'll find a nifty promo code in this episode's description. Remember to follow our shows so you don't miss a single episode. Following us and leaving us a comment helps your podcast provider find us and suggest our shows to other listeners. And please be sure to click that share button. We'd appreciate it. Previously on Tin Star, the county's ambitious new sheriff, Covington Cole, led a posse to capture the Baxter Boys who blasted the bank at Waterman Station, leaving 4 dead men in their wake. Deputy Pop Rixley found himself at odds with the sheriff, a man who served under him during the war. The posse caught up to the Baxters in a deep canyon and came under heavy fire. As we rejoin the men of Tomdaw County, Covington Cole is leading a frontal attack over the objections of Pop Rixley. Chapter 3. Hell-bent for Boot Hill.
Now!
Coale leaped to his feet and bent forward and sprinted. Rixley was after him, stumbling and tripping and working his knees. He had the bouncing scattergun against his bouncing hip, and his finger was hugging the trigger guard. Left and right ran the other 5, hats bobbing and knees flashing and weapons outthrust. The posse descended on the canyon's rim in a soft thunder of running feet and bumping boots. It spread out near the base of the mountain. It fell apart as curiosity pulled it this way and that, for there was no fire from the waving grasses, and no sound from the box, and no living thing was in sight. They slowed to a halt and sidestepped to the rim, and sank to their knees and cautiously peered below. The tiny box canyon was empty. Coale rose angrily.
They couldn't have, but they might.
He trotted around the box and breasted the grass and approached the far side of the shoulder and blinked south.
They might have slipped down that way.
He marched back to the box and snapped his barrels into the holsters.
Though I didn't see them go. Yeager, get back to Perico and tell him to bring all the horses up. You can help him.
He folded his arms and passed his glance around them.
Gentlemen, the Baxters have skedaddled. They're on the run. We'll take rations, then pursue.
Mr. Coale, there is a small mountain there with paths leading up its south face.
I've conned them, Mr. Rixley. When we have horses, we'll feel that way and see what we can flush.
I should think, Mr. Coale, that a foot patrol would be better than a mounted patrol.
And I should think, Mr. Rixley, that a horse, dead or alive, would afford more protection from bullets than the front of a walking man's shirt.
He faced away and walked in small circles, studying the floor of the canyon. It was perhaps 12 feet below him, and rumpled with heat crevices, and strewn with split boulders. A scatter of blackened cartridge casings twinkled in the mid-afternoon sunlight, and cast splinters of brass light upward. Perico and Yeager came up with the horses wide open, and the posse took its animals down into the box and hobbled them, and looked impatiently at Covington Cole. He was looking at the path that angled up the south side of Manitou Mountain and vanished behind the rocks. To him, there was but silence up there. Silence and opportunity. To Pop Rixley, there was threat and messy death and defeat. For the second time that day, he noted Cole's eager brown eyes with their greedy green centers. Pop yanked a wrinkled thumb upward. "That's a lonely road, that one up there, Mr. Coale." But Coale hardly heard him, and Rixley knew why. Coale was seeing far beyond that silent, twisting path to a road that led for a long way into time, to a mansion and bejeweled ladies, and white-fronted men, and oiled whiskers, and big deals, and the acclaim that comes with a headline. That was the road Covington Cole saw. He dragged his eyes from the vision and popped gloved fingers.
We'll all go up, at close intervals, walking on the offside of the horses so as to form a barrier with them between us and the crest.
Suppose all our horses get killed.
That's why the quarter horse stays here with the Mexican. He, or whoever I designate as getaway man, can ride through the twilight and darkness for help.
Coale tapped at his dry lips with a glove buckle.
We have them trapped now, if they're up there.
And if they're not?
Then we continue the pursuit south.
His fingers cracked.
Mount up. Keep your guns bare and your hammers back. I'll lead. Mr. Rixley comes second.
Pop Rixley had no opinion of the man at all now. He had pity, but no opinion. He felt absolutely neutral, and he didn't know why. They had to crouch forward as they walked, so steep and winding was the ascent. To their left, the south wall of the mountain sloped away to a wooded valley. To their right, it rose rockily to the late afternoon skies. Coale said he'd shave that night, come whatever. Rixley suggested that he use either Drew or Clifton Baxter's razor, and Coale sounded almost grateful as he spoke his thanks. Rixley could give him that small pleasure, at least. They trudged upward past the turn, blinding the box canyon below and behind them. And suddenly they were all alone on the side of the world. A bird chittered somewhere. A spill of sand trickled down the rocks on their right.
I see no signs. Do you?
No, Mr. Coale, I don't. The sheriff grunted something to himself.
Poor Judge Gethrin. I won't return from this chase until his murder is avenged.
Rixley grinned. Atonement for the judge's death would soften up the bank vote in the coming election. Coale already had a lot of votes in his pocket as a result of the Daughtry capture and the Sudro Valley stage case. This would do it, this capture of the Baxter Boys. A rock skidded off the trail and dropped from sight, and clacked on shale, and arced into view a moment, and dropped the rest of the way down. Coale halted them, and turned and faced them, and wiped his bare head with a soiled kerchief.
You can spread back now. We're about halfway up, and they would have fired by this time if they were up there.
The bird chitter came again from further up.
We'll go the rest of the way up, of course. I might even leave a man
Coale's eyes lingered over Pop Rixley.
on the summit as lookout while we search the valley.
His eyes hardened on Pop.
It's really not so lonely, is it?
That's when the voice struck them, loud but not near.
Hello, Dandy.
Coale revolved at the crouch and had his guns wavering for a target, elbows braced. The snat, snat, snat of quick pistol fire bit at them, and bullets pecked at the trail. And one of them ricocheted into Coale's cantle and cut his hand. He fired back twice, once from each gun. And the choked cough of a heavy rifle chugged once, and Coale rose on his boot tips and lurched sideways, and clawed at his pommel, and got it, and gripped it, and folded slightly at the knees. His face was gray, and there was a torn spot beneath his shoulder, and his broadcloth coat was staining dark.
Rixley, get him back! Back into the box! Back, Mr. Rixley! I'll follow!
He sagged lower, braced himself, and found the bridle and started to turn his horse. Rixley found time to touch his hat brim. Mr. Coale, I've called you many things in the past 2 days, but none of 'em has ever been coward. Rixley swung his horse down trail and helped the sheriff with his. Also, you're mighty independent. Then Pop Rixley saw the dark quarter moon of a face up there, and his scattergun exploded, and the face disappeared, and after a few moments, skull matter began plopping onto the trail behind them. That's for Orville Pratt. Faster if you can, Mr. Coale. They were scrambling backward, fighting to reach the bend that would bring them in sight of the box canyon. They were holding short reins low as the horses tried to swing free, and with their off arms they were pegging shots up the trail toward the summit. Yeager's horse squealed in pain and broke loose, the deep globes of its eyes white with pain, and with a haunch thrust it was in the air and kicking at nothing, and it was gone. Yeager stood with a foolish look broadening his face, legs wide and both arms cocked. Then he snapped off his last shot and bolted. Hoofs shuffled and men cursed mightily, and there came the broken slate crack of a near shot, and Covington Cole jerked to its impact and tumbled to his knees. Pop Rixley lifted him like a flour sack and slung him across his saddle. Then Pop was alone for a moment at the bend of the trail. He reloaded both barrels and waited with breath tight in his throat. A man in a checkered shirt cat-crept toward the bend, and Pop touched both triggers, and the checkered shirt flew apart into shreds, and the shot-peppered torso swung lazily about and slid from sight. "No," Pop Rixley said to no one. "It isn't really so lonely up here." And he tugged rein and jogged down around the bend, and raced his horse into the box canyon and threw it at the picket that Perico had strung. Covington Cole was sitting against the box wall, clutching his chest.
Mr. Rixley, this is a very untidy profession.
There was that stiff silence again, a silence topped over with small sounds that made it more acute. With Cole's hard breathing, with Perico's murmured praying, with a softly emphasized hoof scrape in sand. "They'll rush us now. Boys, load full and get ready to sell Tom Daw at the highest price." Yeager pointed. "There's always the quarter horse." "Who'll ride him?" Nobody said anything. Everyone looked away. The men of Tom Daw County are notably recalcitrant when it comes to abandoning a gun. The afternoon was going over into the first veil of twilight, and soon it would be evening, and men would become shadows, and voices would be disembodied things. And the Baxter Boys were night fighters. Covington Cole heaved himself painfully to his feet and felt his wounds. He had been taken once through the armpit and again through the short ribs, and when he tried to stand, it was at a list, leaning, sagging to the right. The beaten-out posse regarded him without feeling, without rancor, or acceptance. He had brought them this far, and he could not take them back. The man's hair was tangled and wet, and his jaws were gun-blue from lack of a razor, and his hard mouth was drooping at the ends. His clothes were a mess. He stood blinking, arms heavy, hands loose.
"Somebody has to get back to Waterman's,"
Rixley suggested Perico. "He's small and light."
"And poor rider."
Coale looked them all over, trying to control his blinking.
"One of us will have to ride when it gets dark."
Rixley felt his whiskers. "It's a long road back, Mr. Coale. Death always comes as a stranger to a man who doesn't know that his road has run out." Something of its meaning passed between Pop Rixley and Covington Cole, standing there in that lonely box canyon at the base of Manitou Mountain. Something of it went between them, and Pop had to bite back the words. "Too cautious, am I?" For all that lay behind them in the faded tracks of armies long since disbanded and gone, and the present was all that mattered. Coale took several breaths before he managed to speak.
"Mr. Rixley, at one time, you rode a horse fairly well."
"You want me to ride back to Waterman's with the story you promised?"
"Any way you choose to view it."
Coale went limp all over like an emptied flour sack. He swayed back against the rocks and slid to the ground, both hands placed carefully to each side for balance. His unshaven jaws were dark purple against the waxen bloodlessness of his skin. Coale went limp all over like an emptied flour sack. "Let someone else ride it." Coale shrugged, then stiffened as the mocking hail sliced down from the bend in the path.
Dandy!
He forced his face up and frowned.
Mr. Baxter, I presume?
It took all his strength to say it without breaking.
Mr. Drew Baxter. My brother departed this life recently. Cliff always said he wanted a bullet, not a rope or buckshot. And he got buckshot, Dandy.
The steady aim of my deputy did that.
The voice from the path grew stronger.
Yo, deputy can bargain for his life too, Dandy.
I don't seem to follow your meaning, Mr. Baxter.
You have some nice horses and some good equipment, like extra belts of ammunition, for instance, and extra rations.
Coale winced with the effort to get to his feet, and when Rixley extended his hands, Coale simply glared at him. Then Coale was on his feet, one glove planted against the rocks for support.
You wish to swap something?
Sure.
Drew Baxter sounded nearer in the dusk.
Just you leave that equipment and them horses all nice and whole there, and you can walk home alive.
Coale's soggy face muscles came together, and his eyes hardened, and he seemed to straighten in the legs and the spine.
Baxter, if you want anything from me, you'll have to fight for it.
The sheriff was trembling now. Sweat was coursing out of his short hair into his collar. It glistened on his set face. Silently, Pop Rixley applauded that.
Cole, listen to this. We got dynamite. Lots of it. We can blow you all to hell. But we'd rather have your horses and gear. We wouldn't want to hurt them. See the point, Dandy?
I'm afraid not.
Isn't your life worth it? 'Cause if you try to run, we'll ride you down anyway. If you make a stand, you'll lose. So why not bargain?
Rixley tried to make it easy for him. Why not? He whispered the rest. Put it to a vote. The majority rules.
Certainly not.
Coale struggled for strength.
I'm in command of this posse, not you.
And see what you've done with it. Twilight was coming down, and through its crepuscular haze, Rixley leaned closer to Coale and studied the man's face. Indecision was there. Indecision and a trace of regret and the shadow of sorrow. And his eyes were weakening. Then he wrenched himself erect and opened his throat.
Baxter, you'll have to come and get it. I refuse to bargain with a bandit.
Boots padded away. A stone ticked loose and plopped onto the path. Coale spoke through his teeth.
Deploy. Shoot at short range. I doubt if they have dynamite. There can only be 12 left, perhaps less.
He let his voice trail off into the thickening dusk. Pop Rixley craved eating tobacco. It would be a hell of a thing to lie wounded and dying and have nothing to make spit with. It would be a hell of a thing to taste your blood as you died, instead of ripe cut plug. And he sighed.
Disappointed, Mr. Rixley, that you did not return?
If Coale hadn't been wounded, Rixley would have slapped him. Not hit him as you hit a man in anger, but slapped him as you challenge a hateful thing. Slight noises filtered down from the mountain path. There were suppressed grunts and low voices, and the squeak of drying leather. A match skreeked into life. Coale filled his lungs.
We're going to run for it if they use dynamite. Otherwise, we stand.
The words rattled out of the canyon and echoed onto the path. Yeager called out. A scratch of sparks was arcing out of the night. It was coming directly onto them. Dynamite! It flipped lazily into the canyon. With horror-clouded eyes, they saw the charge lying in the sand, saw the plunger attached to it, saw the sparks eating the wick to activate the plunger. The night went white, and everyone went deaf. Photoplated on their minds was a picture of hurtling ruination lighted by the detonation and silhouetting spinning chunks of rock and shale. The night went dark, and hearing came back to them. They picked themselves up. Rixley brushed helplessly at his shirt, feeling utterly foolish and incompetent, and just a bit regretful that he would not be able now to live out his biblically allotted span of years. Coale's voice was pleading from the darkness.
Help me, Rixley. Help me up. Over here.
Rixley picked his way past fear-frozen horses and over to the wall, and lifted Covington Cole from the sand and propped him against the rock wall. Rixley's hands came away sticky. Drew Baxter was obscene with glee.
Want a bargain, Dandy? Or try to run for it?
Coale had Rixley by the back of the head and the front of the jaw, lips to his ear.
Help me with the quarter horse, Rixley. We'll shove him and 2-3 others up to the meadow. When they give chase, use your own judgment.
You mean you're going to... Rixley had a fist up to belt the man's mouth open. The moon peeped up, small and low and frozen crystal, and in its mild radiance Pop Rixley saw again the man's face. It was calm, it was at peace, and the eagerness was gone forever. The eyes were absolutely empty, and Coale managed to smile. Rixley lowered his fist and opened it and thrust out the palm and held it. Covington Cole shook once. His smile sank and he moved his head.
Let's go.
They took the quarter horse off its snaffle and led it to the shelf that rose to the meadow, and Perico goaded Coale's horse and the 2 pack animals after it. Then Rixley shouldered Coale up and gave him reins, and turned about to face the mountain's blue bulk. Every man mount and ride for himself. He clapped a palm to the quarter horse and stood back and booted the pack animals, and dropped into the canyon, and grabbed for his scattergun. Yeager, how, all of you, with me. Covington Cole yelled once as he rode onto the meadow.
Yeah!
The yell was hoarse and strained, but it was the best he could do.
Yeah!
He yelled again as he galloped north. The mountain path burst into noise. Horses collided and whickered, and men shouted, and Drew Baxter bellowed,
After 'em! We'll get 'em all!
The dozen riders filed off the path and trotted past the box canyon, and in the rising moonlight, Rixley could see the silver fire of spurs being used. At the gallop, the Baxter gang pounded into the meadow. Pick your targets! I want every man hit twice! They aimed on the Baxters' flame spits that were stabbing north. They fired until their thumbs were burnt and their barrels hot. Then they caught up their horses and belted them out of the canyon and into the full moonlight, and rode north, stretched out full and searching for targets. But there were no targets. There were tired horses jolting clumsily back the way they had come, and there were huddled heaps of clothing in the grasses. They rained down at Drew Baxter's body and forced straight its snapped spine. Then they searched on foot until they came to the quarter horse lying on flattened ribs with hind legs thrashing to the final impulses of life, eyes rolling in its head. Pop Rixley aimed short, closed his eyes, and fired. Yeager found Covington Cole spread in the grasses just this side of the trees, gloves intact and waistcoat bare. He almost made it. Pop Rixley had judged many men in his time, and now he was judging this one. He didn't want to make it. You think a good rider on a quarter horse can't get across a meadow in the darkness? Rixley knelt and buttoned Cole's waistcoat, and pulled out his bent legs and thumbed his lids down. Yeager, go find his hat. How? Ride those pack animals down. Perico, round up all stock on the meadow. The rest of you start digging graves. To all of them he warned, Always plan every move you make in this business. It was Pop Rixley who wrote the account and telegraphed it to the Bismarck Tribune, which relayed it to the Kansas Times. And in Missouri City, they held services for the sheriff who had been killed. Tumbleweed Timmons, handy with tools, took a dry iron and seared into a board the words that Rixley had used. Later, a permanent headstone was made because the board took the weather badly and started to crumble. But the words are there forever now. To Covington Cole, who met success like a gentleman and disaster like a man. From the Tom Daw Posse. And if you live there long enough and get to the point where they will permit you to buy them a drink, and when you feel that at last you are no longer a newcomer, you may work up enough courage to ask, is Tom Daw County really proud of Covington Cole? And your answer will be, what do you think, stranger?
That concludes the Steeger Classic Pulp Podcast's presentation of Tin Star. Come back next time for a brand new story from the vaults of SteegerBooks.com. This AI Repertory Theater production was produced and directed by Keith Bryan Shaw. Please take a moment to let us know in the comments if you enjoy this type of story. So until we meet again, this is Tracy Dixon. Thanks for listening.